Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the study session for tonight. Tonight, we are going to take a look at the big blind defending against the cutoff and the hijack. Last week, we looked at the big blind defending against the buttons open. And so we're going to start with a little bit of how our ranged construction works and why it changes a little bit as we progress against the earlier and earlier spots. So, there we go. So the screen on the right here is 40 big blinds, the big blind versus a raise from the button. And this is what we looked at last week. There's a bunch of jamming. There's some 3-bet non-all-in jamming with few pairs. There's a top range that is big and is raising for value and is planning to call off. There's some hands that just want to jam, balanced by some king-7 bluffs and some ace-deuce bluffs, and some bluffs with these pairs that have equity and are completed hands. It's hard to make a pair. The 3-bets, if we look at the buttons opening range, and we remember that that is going to be the offsuit 8s and the suited 5s. If we look here, we see that ace-7, king-7, jack-7, 10-7, king-6, king-5, ace-6. This area here of offsuit 7s and 6s attack the opener's range in the offsuit 8s and offsuit 9s area. And he's going to have some folds throughout his suited side as well. So this is how we are attacking him here. Blockers to his best value hands and attacking the bottom of his range with some 7s, a few 8s, some 6s, and some 5s. When we shift over to the cutoff, how we're going to look at it today, remember the cutoff is opening offsuit 9s and suited 6s. So logically, we start finding our 3-bets in this area with these 8s and 7s, as well as some blocker against his best value with some aces, and even a few extra 9s for us as well. When we move to the hijack is opening with offsuit 10s and suited 7s. So this line here, suited 7s and offsuit 10s. And so we love this king-9, jack-9, 10-9, ace-9, ace-8 bluffs. Now, to make up for our value, we have to start finding some bluffs on the other side of the pawn. So that's where our king-9 comes in, our queen-9, and our queen-8 suited. Right? We start pulling on some of these suited combos against his tighter and tighter range that still attack the bottom of his range and block a little bit of the top of his value with hands like ace-queen and pocket queens, as well as the traditional ace and king attackers here. You can see that our 3-bet frequency goes, or our jam frequency doesn't really become much of a thing. There's ace-queen, king-9, jack-10, and pocket 9s. And as we play against earlier and earlier position, there is less and less of this jamming as their range construction gets tighter and tighter. Versus over here, against the button, you can see we're very liberally jamming 6% of hands. And here we're only jamming 1% of hands. Not a big part of the strategy. Before we go into a little bit more, we're going to take a little jaunt down the short stack play route. So seeing how our ranges adjust from 40 big blinds down to 10 big blinds. So let's start with the button here, or versus the button. And we are all in 6%, 3-betting 11%, and calling 60%. When we move down to 30 big blinds, all of a sudden we have 7% 3-bet, but our all-in jumps to 11%. And we're still calling very wide. We're not folding very much. And you can see a big discrepancy on this jam here versus here. We are jamming twice as often here. When we go down to 20 big blinds, we're now jamming 16% of the time. Our 3-bet becomes a very small portion of our range, where we have the very best top hands and a smattering of bluffs and lots of calling still. And as we continue down, we find some more. The 3-bet strategy completely drops out and we start trapping by just calling with aces and kings. This protects our calling range and allows us to call pretty wide when we have hands as strong as king, queen suited, kings, and aces in here. 12 big blinds. We are 3-bet jamming 20% of the time. And 10 big blinds, 25% of the time. When you get under 15 big blinds, you need to be hyper aggressive to acquire chips. Now, I will say this is a strategy that is set up for a chip EV model. So probably when you're in the first half of the tournament, when you start to get low on chips, it's okay to be very aggressive. As you get close to the payouts bubble, you introduce a topic called risk premium that usually wants you to start tightening up your ranges and lessening the frequency of jams. And so it's going to start picking off ones that are partial frequencies, like this ace-7, this ace-9. They're not going to be jams as you get closer to the bubble, to the money bubble. And then after the money bubble bursts, the ICM pressure drops and you play back in this style where, you know, if you're in a 5,000 person tournament and the money bubble bursts at 650 people, well, there isn't a pay jump for another 150 people. So it doesn't matter if you bust now or if you bust 100 people from now. So your goal is chip acquisition again. So just a little quick stroll down short stack play as a little bonus section for tonight. So we'll get into some solver work and we will look to find hands that target the bottom of the opener's range and block value or our 3-bets, and then have fun playing with it afterwards. All right. Queen 4 off. Is this even a call?
I think this is a call of GTO, but actually, these are the kind of hands that I miss because I think they're close to 0 EV.
I think this is going to be pretty close to the bottom of range. It wouldn't surprise me if it calls. You might find some folds with queen deuce here in range. Yeah. It is 0 EV to call, 0 EV to fold. When we take a look at our whole range construction, queen deuce is a fold and queen 3 is a fold. Right? Queen 4 is the minutia of calling, and really queen 4 and queen 5 are earning 0 EV. So whether you play this or not, it is not a very big element of the strategy. On a straight draw, flush draw, uncompleted equity board, we're definitely going to be checking. And it gets checked through. We will take a quick look here at our flop strategy, just in case we want to find hands where we lead. So you can see our leading strategy is virtually non-existent until we get down here. 8 high boards against the cutoff. Remember last week against the button, we were looking at 7 high flops as where we go. Because their range is a little bit bigger, we get to include 8 high flops here. And it really likes 8 high connected flops, right? As we get down here to ace 3-2 and ace 4-2, 8-4-2. These disconnected flops, we're less likely to hit 2 pairs, and so it has less of a leading range. But like a 7-7-6, 7-6-4, right? And then again, 7-3-2 just doesn't want to. And then once we get into the sixes, it likes leading. So just a little stroll down our lead strategy possibilities there.
So I think 4-5-6 rainbow is your highest frequency lead.
Yep.
I wonder, I know this is off topic, but I wonder if you ever lead with 4-5-6 rainbow against under UTG open.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll just wander on down that road for a second. UTG, big blind, go, flop. 6-5-4. Uh, 5-4-3. And 6-5-4 and 6-5-3 and 6-5 this. So these ones here where we have completed straights that we can flop, that UTG just never has in range, right? Because UTG is opening suited nines and offsuit jacks. So when he gets a board like this, we have all the nut advantage here. We have all these sets. We have 3-2 in range. We have 7-8 in range. We have 2 pairs, 6s and 5s in range. Like when you see a 4-5-6 flop and you have pocket aces and you're up against the big blind, it is not going to go well for you. Especially if they know that they can just donk this spot, and you can barrel a turn on probably any card under a 9. Right? Because an 8 completes the straight here. And any card other than that is just going to be a card that's good for us and bad for them. So on this type of a board against an under the gun raiser, you just lead and you barrel any card 8 and under, and you barrel the river any card 8 and under too. So just a bit of a sweet exploit against UTG play. But this one goes check, check. We have queen high, gut shot, double flush draw board. Is anyone looking to bet here?
I think we get some leads here because we turned equity. So if we do donk, it's going to be small, 30%.
So you're liking the 2?
I think it's going to mix between check and value. Yeah, I would donk this a little bit.
I check.
Yeah. So a donk lead usually refers to someone who bets into the player who's in position who bet on the previous street. So like a donk lead here would be if he bet the flop and we called and then we donked the turn. Here, this is what's called a chance to probe. The flop went check, check. And so we can lead, which means to bet out and kind of probe this turn. I think it's probably going to probe maybe 2, maybe 3. But I am all over betting here. I am not finding very many check.
The flop was check, check.
Yeah, flop went check, check.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now, yeah, I bet too.
Yeah, but I'm worried that this hand might want fold equity because it's going to have a hard time betting the river. So I think it might size up. So I
Yeah,
think
3.35. I think sounds good.
Three. No.
nope,
Oh,
it
check.
Oh, it's check. Still check.
yeah, it's 56% check and so 45% betting. So it's the motion is okay to bet here. I'm surprised not to see some bigger bets, but I guess there's already completed equity here, like Queen Jack and 7-8. Like we have a lot of hands that want to get paid here, so and aren't really afraid. So I guess there's a lot of small betting because there's just no big bets here for us. Take a look at the range as a whole. I guess we're gonna have some stronger hands that are gonna have some big bets because there is big bets on this board.
Pete, could it be that we want to avoid sizing up because the 10 of hearts brings a lot of continues for the cutoff? Like all the king 10, queen 10, ace 10, plus now hearts are there.
Well, yeah, like the in position player, like that's the whole problem with betting here is that the in position player, if like he doesn't have a spade draw very many times because he's gonna
No.
bet a lot of spade draws on the flop,
Exactly.
but he has a lot of heart draws,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? Because he particularly wants to check back hearts to try to realize equity on turns like this one.
Right.
So
So
heart is tough.
that's why I guess my question is betting 3.35. It doesn't do a lot other than lose us more money when he can continue with equity or punish us with value even.
The only thing it does is it targets hands that are slightly ahead of us, right? So when he has king 3, king 4, king 5, he's not going to float quite so much. But I think his range is going to be pretty static. Like against all the sizes that we're going to be able to employ, he has implied pot odds because the pot's so small and there's so many chips behind. It's kind of like there's a deep stack spot where all his flushes, when they realize equity, or straights when they complete, are able to play for a large chunk of chips behind, right? Because there's only 6 big blinds in the pot. There's 35 blinds behind here, 37 bigs behind. So whether we bet 2 or 3, he just has a lot of implied odds in position. But yeah, Queen 4 is kind of our worst hand here. So
Hey, Pete, is there like, if we probe small here, can we look at his folding range so we can see what we're targeting to fold out? That might also answer Ryan's question a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. So if we probe 2, his response is going to be this. He's going to have 15-20% of his range that's going to raise, 60% of his range that's going to call, and 20% of his range that's going to fold. So our probe bet,
Oh, sorry, Pete, go ahead.
yeah, so our probe bet is going to get some folds, and particularly the folds that we're looking for is these kings that are beating us, these aces that are beating us, and these pairs that are beating us. So the nice thing about betting Queen 4 is literally every hand other than 5-4 and 6-5 and his Queen 4 suited that folds is a hand that's currently beating us.
So, yeah, so the concept I'm giving you is that, and I struggle with this too, because 30% probe bet on turn.
Yep.
It doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for? Instinctually, it doesn't really feel like it's going to fold out much. So intuition tells you you want to bet big if you're attempting to generate folds. However, the point I'm taking from this is that we're not targeting folding out his higher equity hands. We're essentially targeting folding out his auto folds.
Yep, we're just cleaning up some equity and we are targeting some hands that are ahead of us, right? He's going to find some folds with some ace high and some king high here because it's so connected around here. He wants to call with all these 7s. He's doing some raising when he has a 7 in his hand here. right? He's doing some raising when he has a jack. Oh, jack 7 is a straight, right? But his 7s are doing a bit of raising. His 6s are doing a bit of raising. His ace jack is doing a bit of raising. I don't know that you're going to get raised very often in game when the flop goes check, check. But yeah, I really like that. So we take the 2 sizing, which was okay.
Pete, I was just gonna ask one more quick question.
Sure.
Back on the turn, could check also be most favorable just because there's so many poisonous river cards? There's half the deck with hearts and spades, and then like there's 3 cards that bring a 4-liner, the aces, the kings. Like we basically want to pair the board here, but maybe not the nine of hearts even, but I don't know. Is that what makes check maybe a little more advantageous than a probe bet? With that particular board, with our particular hand.
Yeah. So because our hand has the ability to turn functionally the nuts, like we're still drawing with equity to what can be the nuts here, right? On a couple of jacks, right? And even a jack that completes a flush is going to be pretty good for us. It's going to be hard to get paid when the jack comes in to make it a 1-liner. But we are going to have a lot of bluffs on the river as well. So a hand like King 4 is probably going to be an 80% check here, right? With a little more showdown and a little less ability to make the nuts, right? Versus Queen 4, right on that turn.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. And I mean, we're just going to be littered with. We also have a lot of marginal made hands that are going to check here on the turn. Right? When we take a look at our turn strategy, we have a lot of 2s that are checking. We have a lot of 8s that are checking. We have some 9s that are checking. So we have a lot of value hands that check. So, like here, King 4, offsuit, pure check all across the board. Queen 4 has a little bit of ability to make the straight, is losing to King 4, wants to bet. And if you look at it, Queen 4 actually has a higher EV than King 4, even though King 4 is beating Queen 4, right? And even a higher EV than Ace 4, right? That ability to make the straight makes Queen 4 twice as good as Ace 4, as hard as that is to kind of wrap your head around. But we get in a pickle. We bet turn, and the board pairs, the flush comes in. This card is kind of neutral for both of us. We have Queen High on the river. I think we're going to bluff. Is anyone else brave enough to bluff?
I'm bluffing.
How big are you?
I'm terrified and I'm giving up.
6.
Saeed's pulling the trigger at 6. Kind of like that size.
I mean, we're only beating Jack High at this point, but we're not holding any hearts. So we're unblocking hearts and makes it slightly more likely. I'm okay to give this up, but that being said, I'm a pretty big nit, so but the line was bet 2 and he called 2. He called 1/3 pot on the turn. So like I don't know. He's calling a lot with stuff that this helped out.
I also think that he's going to have a lot of 9s in his check, flop, call, turn range.
Sure, he's going to have a lot of 9s, but if he raises, it's not like we're losing our hand, right? Like our hand is never winning against a raise.
Right. So
right?
if we are going
Like
to
even
bet,
if he bluffs with the ace of hearts here, he's beating us. So
if we are going to bet, we probably want to go at least 6.
So I'm kind of conflicted. Like if we bet this size, he's going to fold out his king high and his ace high, right? He's going to fold. We're going to catch some auto folds here. He's going to maybe, be looking at folding pocket sixes, pocket sevens. I'm not sure which one it is. But
He could look us up if we bet 3.5 with ace high. He only has to be right, like, what, 26-ish% of the time?
yeah, but pretty spicy board to look up ace high, right? A straight's on there, a flush is on there, and the board's paired.
Fair enough.
Like, that's why I'm wondering if 3.5 isn't gonna work here too. Yeah, 3.5. But not wrong bets. And not wrong to give up. Right? There's an element of all of those, but the preferred action is this size. And just looking to target the auto folds and that beat us, right? The king high and the ace high, right? Because he's got some spades maybe that are ace high that get here. So when we take this river bet for 3.5, what is his response? What are his folds? Yeah, he now folds all the rest of his ace highs. He folds pocket fives, sixes, and sevens. And queen high and king high, the incomplete flush draws. So when we bet 3.5, he folds 27% of his range. It's probably okay, right? It's not going to be a printing spot where we're going to make a lot of money, but. And when he raises, it's easy for us to fold. We have queen high.
Into money.
And he just calls with a 10, which is why it likes the slightly smaller size. He doesn't fold a lot different, probably between the 6 and the 3 size. All right, versus the hijack, king 9. Is anyone feeling itchy?
I think this is a pure trend. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it mixes.
Definitely bottom of range.
So the hijack, remember, is opening suited 7s and offsuit 10s. I'm feeling itchy. Let's go.
But call slightly better.
Call is slightly better, but Itchy Pete always pulls the trigger finger. All right, let's raise it up. Okay. We 3-bet. I want to c-bet this hand. This flop is good for us.
Yep.
Also good for him. It wants to size up though here. It is disconnected. It wants to one and done this, I think.
Yeah, get rid of the ace.
Yeah. So you're clearing out
flush draw.
everything. When you bet this type of size, how hot? You're saying, hey, we have ace king. You don't have ace king. You're gonna have to pay. We're gonna be reducing the stack to pot ratio, so we're gonna jam a lot of turn. So when we use this as 3-bet bluff, it pairs with our ace king, and it is betting the size that our ace king probably is. You can take a look at our whole range here. Ace 8-5. And yeah, our king 9 and ace king. Almost completely same proportions in terms of their size and frequency of betting. Even more sizing up with the ace king, of course, right? Wanting to front load the value. But when you find this, yeah, king 6, which is the worst one, actually matches it a little better. Right? If you find the bluff with king 6, it matches the ace king virtually perfectly with its sizings and percentages of bets. Here, when we do have this ace king, it does like sizing up when you have the 9 of spades and like smaller betting when you have the king of spades, better equity, right? Versus just a relevant blocker, right? The king of spades has equity in this hand. The nine of spades is a blocker to equity. So, yeah, there we go. Either way, get a nice big bet in here. Calls, and we turn the king. So the king is a good card for us in position. Sorry, for our 3-bet range. Is this going to jam?
There's gonna be a mix of polarized checks and shoves. But I think that's gonna do a significant amount of checking because we have showdown and a lot of his continues to sizing a little bit inside.
Yeah,
And we're blocking his flush draw. We're blocking his ace nine suited and his king nine suited.
yeah.
The board's a bit unconnected. It's also not great for us that we're holding a spade. And he's got all the aces. So I think if we just jam, it's kind of just blasting off here. We now have a marginal made hand. Like maybe we can check and see a cheap river.
Well, there is like if it goes check, 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 we're gonna win sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Problem is if it checks and he
He's not.
bets, are
He's
we
not
going
gonna
to call?
check.
Yeah. So
Since we don't have any fold equity, right? So
Yeah.
Sometimes I do a weird block bet, like bet 4.
Yeah.
gotta keep pushing our equity.
Yeah.
Problem is like you're just like he has all the price to continue with anything when we do that.
Well,
you're
I
all
bet
in our
4.
check there.
I bet 4. The reason is hoping for a check river.
Let's take a peek.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have it exactly right, Saeed. It is check or bet 4. The king is a card that's good for our 3-bet strategy. And if we had ace king, we would want to bet. And ace king or pocket aces or pocket kings all have the equity locked up. And he doesn't have any of those combos.
Right.
So we do want to bet. We're still representing. Remember, our 3-bet bluff is matching our value hands here. So it's matching like an ace king or a pocket kings. So the strategy plays like it would. Even though it has a lot of checking with marginal made hands. Yeah, good intuition there, Saeed. He bets half pot, 10 into 40. I don't think we get to fold second pair.
No, this is it's weird for me to solve this. Solvers play this
Yeah, call it.
small bet call game, weird SPR.
Yeah. A 0 EV decision to call here, but it's also going to set us up to call on the river now because it's 60, 10 into 60. So. Let's just check. And it's just the bluff catch. And it's probably going to mix even more. It's probably going to fold like 45% here.
Yeah.
Right. And you can see our EV has gotten watered down. And we've gotten ourselves in trouble against ace 10. But that's why you should be mixing your 3-bet frequency with king 9. And not just being a maniac like me and 3-betting it like crazy. All right, but this one I think we're going to 3-bet. Ooh. Lush draw. Completed
big.
equity. Saeed is already out with the hammer.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you got to bet big here. Yep.
10 big blind, Saeed, or 30?
I'm thinking about actually 15, but 10 or
Okay.
10 or 15, either one of them.
Is it
Is anyone-
Oh, go ahead, Pete.
Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just gonna ask, is it a fatal mistake between 10 and 15? Because like if the chips are going in now, they're going in no matter what. So like if we bet 10 and he jams, then we're snapping. We snap call. If we bet 15 and he jams, we snap call. So it's like at this stage of the hand, does it make a huge difference? Like I guess I'm asking you, Pete, when you're looking at these two sizings, would you see a huge EV difference between them?
No, I don't think there will be an EV difference between them, right? I think he continues a little more here, but like the hands that are going to continue in position against 10 big blinds are probably also going to continue against 15 big blinds and may continue against 30 big blinds, right? Like here, if we bet these two sizes, he's going to continue with all flush draws. Here, if we bet this size, he's probably only going to continue with a combo draw, like a king jack of spades, right? That can make the straight as well. Is anyone checking here?
There might be some checks. I would imagine if you look at our
Sometimes
SPR,
check,
I don't
yeah.
think there's much reason to. I would prefer betting 5 here because our SPR, if we bet geometrically, is easily going to allow us to get it in by the river. And if we bet 5, we're keeping in a significantly larger part of his range that we are going to beat.
If I check there, I'm checking to check jam.
Yes. The most efficient way to get all the chips in on the pot is probably going to be going for a check raise, and the check raise is going to be an all-in size.
Yeah.
So with this hand particularly, if I had the ace of spades, I would want to bet. Without the ace of spades, I am going to probably check jam this hand.
You already
Yeah.
finished,
10. Yeah.
10 is the strategy. 5 is also very prominent, keeping players in. And there is an element of check here. I hope aces are the right combo to do this with.
So you
Mm,
just flip
Barely.
Yeah.
Sleeve it.
It's aces with the ace of spades that can risk a spade turning. Ones without the spade don't want to risk giving a free card. So they size up and go with the 10 big blind size a lot. 5 big blind size is also just fine with them too.
So I find with solvers when we're dominating a hand and have a super premium hand, we can pretty much do anything.
Yeah, I mean, a 3-bet pot, you're not going to have stuff that's very wrong. We'll take the majority play though here, and we'll go with the 10.5 sizing, knowing that we are planning on check jamming. Ooh, he finds a fold with ace 10. He folds this gut shot with an over.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is my argument for why a smaller sizing hand makes sense. I mean, we're folding out his equity, which has value, but I just think it makes sense to keep him in.
But you gotta think of his, but you
It's
think of his
lower.
range though.
Yeah.
His range is gonna be all those middling broadways too, right? So you have to be careful.
And Jack 10. Yeah, exactly.
Like a jack hits here and you're done, right?
Yeah, sure. He's gonna hit a straight 30% of the time, but that's the gamble, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
yeah.
Look at this. When we take the small bet size and bet 5 into the 20, he
Still
folds the
fold.
king of spades.
Hey,
2 overs and the king of spades. I don't know.
not in my game.
not in my game either. Solver might be better than me with this play.
There is no way they fold king, queen, and ace 10. No way.
All right.
If they fold those, I will be winning every tournament.
No problem. We continue with bottom of range here. Oh, troublesome board. Comes out with a big bet, 55%. Anyone want to do anything other than fold here?
This is a give up.
Yeah, it feels like a fold to me.
Queen of spades, if the hand's reversed with the queen of spades and the six of diamonds, are you guys continuing?
Went over and a good flush draw, I think. And a backdoor straight draw. You have to keep continuing if it's queen of spades.
Against a smaller bet, maybe I would, but against the 3 sizing, probably I'll fold. Like if he bets
Yeah.
2, I'll continue with the queen of spades.
You still have
This
to
is
go
just
runner though, right? So
Well, I've been known to take the dog out for a little run once in a while.
yeah.
All right, 43 suited. Are we folding any suited hands?
No.
I don't think we fold anything suited.
We
I
are,
check.
we flop a gutter. Ooh. Or high, he gives us the micro size. He's set us up. Does anyone
Call.
want to take a swing?
Oh,
Yeah, you got, this is, we're set up here for a check raise, for sure.
I think this is
Yeah.
gonna be
It's either 4 or 6.
high frequency check raise, low frequency fold. I think there is gonna be some folds here too. A little bit of
calling you.
call. High frequency is the bigger sizing. It is interesting that it just calls too. I would not find a call here.
generally need a spade though to check raise there, don't you?
Spade is definitely going to be preferable, but like a spade, if I had 43 with a spade, I'm probably going to be more inclined to call. We don't
Yeah.
even have it here.
Just without the spade, you're gonna be looking to check more than check raise though, I think, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
if
you
we
don't-
look at,
You can't collect any more equity, right? You wanted some equity to check raise with, right?
yeah, if we look at the 53, when it has a spade, it check raises a lot more. When it doesn't have a spade, it just calls or gives up. There's a little bit of check raising when you don't have a heart either. Right? When you, the ones that with no blockers want to check raise, fold. The ones with blockers want to call a little more. But it's a pretty minutia part of the strategy. All right, let's play the majority line. Saeed wanted to call.
Yeah.
Ace turn. Not gonna be a spot we get to lead. And he comes to the big bet. Is it time to pack up the bags and go home?
Next
For
time.
7, yeah.
Yeah, just a math fold.
Easy fold. Oh, look at him give us the noodle job. That was gonna be trouble. 7 deuce. Can we please find a fold? No. Call it off. Let's go. Don't you start finding folds, you nits, with your suited cards here. All right. 3 straight, 3 flush, all on the ignorant end. Big fat bet. Wow.
Okay,
Guess what
now can us nits fold the 7 deuce?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Now that you've contributed to the college fund of this guy's kid, you can fold this hand. King 3 cut off. You're defending all of the king's forces and all of the king's men. And we flop a 3. What time is it?
Check.
Check in the bank. Yeah. Marginal made hand?
Yeah, but the board is very good for us, but I think we still check with showdown.
I bet 3.35.
I'd go
Point
check
3.
too. And
All right. I think there is going to be a little bit of betting, but I don't think it's going to be a very prominent part here, right? A rainbow board. I think our hand's just going to want to show down.
yeah, third pair,
Yeah, if you do,
fourth pair.
yeah, if you do, I think it's going to want to bet even bigger, but I think it's not really going to be part of the strategy here. I think it's going to be a really high check.
Yeah, true.
Small,
Jack
Small
nine
bet.
block.
one big blind bet. Yes,
Huh.
just targeting auto folds, cleaning up equity. Right, flop went check, check. You do cooler, better, worse threes here. I am never finding this bet. Why am I not finding this bet? Only 29% of our range gets to check. And it is betting ace three. When it's betting it this much, it's betting it for value. That's gross. I guess our range just gets to go ballistic here. We don't have very many checks.
We have nudge advantage too, right?
Yeah, like,
4, 6, 8, 6.
yeah. I mean, he has, yeah, he's
Ace
the,
nines.
yeah. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of nines here because he bets most of them on the flop.
Oh, yeah. No, I meant his range, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So his range kind of gets pared down a little bit. So if we look at the flop, his range construction, right? When he checks, he's got a ton of ace high. He's got a bunch of sevens. He's got a bunch of eights. He has some sixes here too. Like he's still pretty well covered in this area here. So if we want to take a big bet, we're just going to run into a 7 here, sometimes an 8 that has good equity, a 6 that has good equity with an over. So I guess
bet.
because there's no flush draw, you get to bet here. I bet if there was a flush draw, we probably wouldn't bet this hand as much. But either way, checking is probably okay. And when we get to the river, check, 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 check. It is so greedy. It really wants to cooler someone with a one big blind bet. Gets called by ace high. That is some thin value. It wanted to value bet on the turn, and so when we checked, it definitely wanted to value bet the river. But it wants to keep him super wide to make sure that he calls with worse hands.
So like in terms of bet sizing, how do you find like a 15, 17% bet in game?
So in a spot where you're wide versus wide, like when you have a wide range and they have a wide range, and they have checked, all of a sudden the equity swings. Because they should be betting almost all of their nines on the flop, and we should be checking all of our nines. All of a sudden, we have a nut advantage on the top card on board. So our whole range wants to bet, right? And just push the equity. And it doesn't want to bet big because he has lots of pairs that are better than us, but we want to bet small. We want to push that equity advantage a little bit until he calls, and then the equities shift back again to a more neutral spot. Let's take a look at that and see if we can see that in here. So on the flop, big blind. So here's the cutoff. So on the flop, you can see that he has a range advantage all the way through this hand, right up until we get to like the last couple percent where we both share some sets and straights. And when we take a look at this, right, he has a top pair advantage of us. He's an under pair. We have more second and third pairs. His EV is higher than us, and his equity is higher than us. And when we take the check line and we arrive on the turn, all of a sudden that's going to swing way the other way, where we now have the equity advantage and the EV advantage because we have swung the 2-pair advantage and the top pair advantage, right? We now have 11% top pairs. He only has 4.5% top pairs for the ones that he checks back. So now we have more top pairs, more second pairs, more third pairs, right? So it's particularly good for us. We also have more straights here. So the equity advantage shifts. And so now at the very bottom, we're still there, but then the lines now cross. And there's a huge part here where our range just wants to bet. And then again, we arrive at the top very close together. So because the equity advantage shifts on the turn, we want to bet, but we're only, kind of at the point where the nines start to come into play, because both of us check a lot of 5s and a lot of 3s, but we haven't shown that we have more 9s in our range. So we're just going to get some folds here because we're repped with 9s and he is not. And then when it goes check, check on the river, it's probably going to be very close. Yeah, so here, at the bottom end of things, he has a huge advantage, and throughout the top end of things, it's pretty close, right? He has a bit of an advantage throughout, but it wanted us to bet on the turn, and so when we don't bet on the turn, we still arrive here with a reasonable amount of top pairs, more 2 pairs than he has, right? Because we wind up here with Jack 3 and 5-3 more than he does, just because we have more Jack 3 and 5-3 in our range than he does, right? He doesn't have 5-3 in range. We do have 5-3 in range, so.
Look at the 2-pair discrepancy. It's like 6% to 0%.
Yeah. Next time. All right. 10-9. This is definitely going to defend. Jack 7-4.
I think we get some leads here.
Yeah, bottom card pairs, that's good for us. 7's good. Think this is gonna bet. It bets big. Spicy. I guess if we have a 4, the flop goes check, check, it finds an over bet. Very spicy. Ooh, is this just a give up? Having a spade is bad.
I think we're gonna have both give ups and polarized bet sizing here. Or close the pot.
We can
think-
target some ace highs.
Yeah.
But
our polarized bet on the turn, you shouldn't have a lot of ace highs here that aren't the ace of spades.
I think it's gonna mix between a polarized shove actually and a check. After our sizing.
Maybe 18 paired board. Don't have to go all in. Nope, it just gives up.
Or give up.
You're a give up. Having the spade is really bad here. Right? We want him to have spades. So us having a spade is bad.
Plus the king is good for his floats. Do we have any no equity bluffs on shoves on this?
Oh,
No equity shoves. Doesn't look like we have shoves here. It goes small. It does have some this sizing. With queen deuce of spades that missed. Yeah, it has some, when we have spades, it has some jams. Right? When we have some interaction with the 4, some blockers to our 4 at the bottom of range, it just shoves. It shoves a lot of kings that when we show up with a king here on the river. And yeah, queen deuce, queen 8, queen 10, right? Low frequency. So yeah, it doesn't shove, uses the 18 size and the 13 size a lot too. Right? The 13 size, also a big fan of the spade bet, half pot on the river. When we have a 4, we like that size. It allows him to call with the king very easily.
I think the thing on this here is that our turn bet sizing is really filtering his continues.
Yeah.
And when he calls with that kind of turn bet sizing, he's
Yeah,
going to
and
be
when-
heavily weighed toward value.
Yeah, when we bet smaller on the river, he still folds 40% of his stuff, calls with a third of his stuff, and then shoves with a bit of stuff. Right? His best 4s and his best jacks. King 7 is 2 pair, king queen, ace king, ace king. Right? And then he's bluffing with pocket 6s, pocket 5s, 75, anything that can interact with the 4, it finds a bit of bluffing with here. 9-8, the worst miss straight, it finds a bit of bluffs with. Ace 5 and king 5, blocking ace 4 and king 4. So pocket 5s. This shove probably would have got him off those. All right, we'll do a couple more. Calling all our suited stuff we saw. Very marginal made hand. Does anyone want to do anything other than call? High frequency raise,
Never
second
found it.
pair. That is some creative bluff work here. I am not going to find this often enough. I guess it's the 6 and the 3 are below his opening range a lot. So it's going to find some barrels on 2, 4, 5, and 7 here when it check raises. So this would be a card that it would barrel if we check raised on the flop. So do we get to lead this card on the turn? Maybe. Yeah. So it completes some of our stuff that floated here. So the equities shift. This is below the type of cards that he opens. So his kings are in threat of us making 2 pair here, making a straight here. So because the equities shift, we just get to lead very small. We're probably going to bet the river small on any card 8 and under. That's my guess. Maybe check a spade. Definitely check a queen. Yeah, the turn node here. Are we? Yeah, so it finds leads on 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s. Very
It finds
prominent.
leads on any of the pairing of these low Cards.
Compare the low card, you lead for sure. You find a 4 or 5 here, you lead a lot. Right? You check everything 8 and above because it doesn't complete your draws. You can even complete bet on a 7 a little bit, deuce a little bit, but really the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6, the cards that we are going to call with, we just find a lot of leads here.
Can I ask you a question about the turn note?
Sure.
So on the turn note, if we choose to lead small, which I think was half of our frequency.
Yep.
And he shoves, do we call it off?
Let's take a peek. So what's his response to our turn bet? He does have a raising range. It's pretty prominent, right? He's got 30% raising here. Now he doesn't shove, but he raises to 9 or 13 on our 2. So it is a pretty polar strategy.
Yeah.
So you want to see if we call when he gives us the big push.
Yeah, let's look at the big race.
Okay, so that's what he's pushing us with. It's segments of all kinds of stuff in his range, all kinds of kings, anything that interacts with the 3 and the 6 and the 5 and the 4, so relevant blockers.
I wonder if he raises with the weak
Peter.
flush draws.
So he gives us the 13 size. Our strategy with 64 is to call. We are just sticking to our guns. But I mean, here we have a straight draw as well, right?
Yeah, we got yes. Hold on, it's open.
Yeah. Our 64 is happy to get raised here. I don't know that I'm very happy to get raised. But
Thanks.
no problem, no problem. All right. Aye. Is this a 3-bet for value, a 3-bet for bluff, or are you guys just gonna call? Let's go through.
We're on the cusp here, aren't we? I think we mix.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's mixing, but a little more raise than call, I think. Just because you're offsuit, right? You'd
Yeah.
call your ace jack
so
suited.
if you 3-bet this and he jams, are you going to call it off?
No.
So it's a 3-bet bluff for you then.
Yeah.
Okay. Saeed, Larry, Reiner?
No.
I think it's a give up if he shoves.
Yeah.
The suited variety will call. So,
Suited would call, but I've been looking at a lot of those spots where ace jack and ace 10 kind of fold. They don't have enough
Yeah,
equity.
I think if we raise and if it jams, yeah, I think we fold. So for that, I'd rather maybe just call.
We also 3-bet fold with stronger hands. Like we do this with you can 3-bet fold with ace queen. So ace jack feels like it's a 3-bet fold here too.
Ooh, you guys, 3-bet fold. It's probably the right thing. So that makes me want to call this hand more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think I don't know. Sometimes
But
yeah.
the hand is itchy. The hand needs scratched.
Yeah.
Pete, that would be lower if it was suited though, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to see a flop if it's suited.
Yeah, the suited hand is going to play better, right? It has more playability. It doesn't need to bluff. The suited hand would probably, well, we'll take a look. But I bet the suited hand is going to call off if you 3-bet it. And it's probably not going to 3-bet it very much.
I think ace jack is right on the edge of the 3-bet call. I know ace 10's a call.
Yeah. So 3-bet it's not 3-betting it because it never wants to have to fold it.
Yeah, it depends which, yeah.
But if you look at Queen X, when you 3-bet ace queen suited, it is definitely going to call. And he stuffs, and ace queen calls off, and ace queen off calls off. But ace jack,
Yeah.
it still earns 0.01 chips if you call it off, but it's a fold.
I mean, I guess you could call against a maniac or something, but anybody's playing decent.
Oh, yeah.
tight would be-
Look, if the guy's a maniac, ace eight's probably a call.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
maniac,
No,
ace 10, I call, ace 9, I call, ace 10, I call.
Oh yeah. Look, if you find a wild buffalo, like you just have to hold on tight and know that you're gonna have to win your flips.
If you play with Louis and Peter, I call you all.
Well,
If
you
I
know,
am
I've been
playing- If I'm playing with Cap, I fold.
yeah, if you find Joe River at your table, it's probably a good fold. But you know, against me and Louis, you know, if we're three betting ace nine, king nine, and ace jack at full frequency, yeah, you know, we're gonna be up to no good. Okay, we got this wonderful flop. Queen 3-2. Rebet, c-bet.
Yeah.
I want to bet this one small.
Yeah, with the ace of spades, we can bet smaller.
I think it's 25%.
Yeah.
25.
I agree with Arnold, yeah.
Very small. Little bit of sizing up. Also a fair amount of checking here.
Hmm.
Okay, this is a hand that has showdown. If no more chips go in the pot, this hand is just going to win a lot. And it can stand a bet because it has the ace of spades, and it can also probably check jam as a bluff too. What? Fish on the line. Do we open up the 10% minutia going for value bet here?
We do block some of his queens.
Yeah, I'm just going for value here because you got to hit the 4-liner, right? So
3 or 7?
I think either one's fine because you've got the flush draw, right? You're betting out on the flush draw, so
So over under, is it going to check 40% of the time?
No,
no, I think you
Larry's
still have to
taking-
bet.
I think it bets more.
Okay, so everyone's taking the under on 40% check.
Wait,
Reiner's weighing in.
I'm just, yeah. I don't want to bet 7.5 because I want to have enough chips to jam river. So
Okay.
like, for that reason, the pot's pretty big already. Like this is SPR 1, right? So
Yep.
maybe it's got some checks for that reason, so we can jam some rivers.
Ooh, I like it. Ryan's finding some checks. Maybe 40% checks here. I'm trying to sell it. 34, couldn't quite get there.
34.
80 under.
It's the under. Okay, so it is going to bet. The primary motion is to bet 7.5 here. It's fine to jam the ace of spades here. It's also fine to check the ace high here. But the motion is just to continue betting primarily. And well, we scammed him on the river. I think there's only one thing to do.
Click it and rip it.
Click it and rip it. Let's go. And look at him chase us down.
King 10.
Calls that bet, calls the small bet on the turn with just a gutter against the made flush.
Pete, I think GTO Wizard has learned that you're so out of line so many times.
Yeah,
GTO Wizard has adapted. Is
I
this
still
the
don't even know how
beginning
it
of
calls there in a 4-liner.
is this the beginning of Terminator Genesis? The computer AI has now adapted to our behavior.
Yeah. Even GTO is a fish every once in a while.
Well, thanks for dropping into the session, everyone. We had a great one. If you guys like this type of stuff, I have a YouTube channel that has the previous sessions that we've hosted, and there will be more future content on there as well. Feel free to shoot me a message, and we will throw that out there for you guys. Yeah, we'll see you next week for another study session.
Are you
Thanks,
gonna
Pete. Much
be
appreciated.
are you gonna be in Discord, Peter?
One sec here.